We are telling you cat stories live. Let's see if I get my camera to work. Just took a shower, as you can tell. Okay, there we go. Cat stories live. First cat to see is Ashton. Hola, Ashton. Atrás de Ashton. Oh, there comes. Esa no es. Esa es Goldie. Esa es Goldie, Ashton. Atrás de Goldie está Fantasma. Ramira salió persiguiendo a la Mama Cat. Y yo estoy mirando gatos a través de mi maquinita. Ramira. Hola, Ramira. ¿Cómo va la vida? Vamos a ver a los bebés. El asunto con los gatos es crear un poco de sentimiento del síndrome de Estocolmo. No les he podido cerrar. Ahí está Vic trabajando. No les he podido cerrar porque viene la mamá a darles leche. Pero básicamente la comida que reciben es por parte mía. La arena es por parte de Vic, que viene a trabajar hoy. Y el agua también soy yo. Y están atrás de esta silla. Ahí están los gatitos. Vamos a ver a los demás. ¿Cómo están los demás gatos? Ashton siempre se aparece por todos lados. Es una gata dedicada. Tenemos trabajo, tenemos dinero, tenemos todo, pero necesitamos mantener la vigilancia y seguir haciendo lo que podemos para no caer en la desdicha. ¿Qué es la desdicha? La desdicha sería la lujuria, la ira, creo que es la envidia o la... Sí, la envidia, la greed y la pereza. Como que se nota quién es quién aquí, ¿no? Los grandotes son grandotes y los chiquitos son chiquitos. Y luego algunos de ellos te pegan más de una vez. Y aquí está mi camada. Falta uno. Veo a Perro aquí a la derecha, a Forajido, ahí están todos. Donald Trump. No, este es Donald Trump, a la derecha. Este es Perro. Forajido es el chiquitín. Luego está, no sé cuál es cuál, AMLO y Milei, no los puedo diferenciar muy fácil del frente. Pero ahí está mi camada. Estos son mis gatos. Y esto es la razón de mi existencia, la causa de mi placer, lo que me da alegría seguir existiendo. Estos son mis bebés. Tienen infección de la nariz y los ojos. Necesito comprarles medicina. O sea que si me pueden apoyar en Patreon para los gatitos, se los agradecería mucho porque es caro tener gatos. Sí, todos hechos por... todos esos hechos por
mix and match and verify and
Católicos.
cross-check these different sources, and they're also
Muy
written
pocos
in the
hechos por, es
vernacular
más, ninguno hecho por
language, more or less.
vikingos propios,
Yeah,
solo católicos.
runic inscriptions and all
Un
that.
poco trágico eso.
Isn't it? I just had a thought.
It's a huge advantage.
Yeah, but how fascinating is how you get, obviously, like the Abrahamic faith, you have like the Bible, the Quran, where you have these texts that are pretty much like, this is it. Like this
Y
book
los
here
egipcios y los
is
griegos que
everything.
no.
But then you have
Of course, it's not. Also in the Scandinavian world.
no, but that's what I mean. Then you
find-
have the Nordic ones who are then like the next, like it's almost like the next step down from that, where you have like all these texts, but you can't take them at face value. There is so
Un
much
madrazo me di bien.
complexity to them. They're most of them, like say, written by
Sí, un madrazo que me di el otro día.
sources or,
Justo ahí
Arabic
abajo de la
sources. So it's
teta.
like the next step down. But then you would get even further removed
Buen
from that, go to
putazo.
the Slavic one, where you have pretty much nothing. It's like this. It's like a very fascinating kind of like
Yeah, but that's why it's interesting, especially for me as
La vida en la
archaeologist,
granja
it's
es
interesting
dura.
to
Se cae
try
uno.
and understand these belief systems
cae uno.
in different cultures, because sometimes if you have a sort of profound knowledge of one system of belief from the same time, then you can use some of this knowledge to try and fill certain gaps in another system of belief, because on some fundamental levels these religions were similar and certain practices were very similar. So you can approach it in a sort of comparativist way, and that helps. For me, it's actually has been my modus operandi, my way of my procedure, my research procedure, because I've always had an interest in the Slavic world, but my main interest has been the Scandinavian world. So I began with Scandinavia and Scandinavian sources and Old Norse sources and Viking archaeology, and then
Creo que hace unos
I moved
videos
on to the
de
Slavic world.
el libro
So I'm kind
importante
of
que
also,
tengo.
like you, kind of approaching
Esta
the Slavic
video
world as a kind of outsider, but at the same time an insider, because I speak Slavic.
But I guess it gives you a different angle to look at it from that maybe other people have missed.
I think it has helped me. It has helped me a lot, and has certainly helped me reinterpret certain objects in the archaeology of the Slavic world, and view them a different way than some of my colleagues have been viewing them for a very long time. And that can lead to a lot of
hacer una serie sobre esto.
groundbreaking results.
A ver, ¿quiénes son los esclavitos?
Yeah, absolutely.
Los esclavos.
You need that sometimes
Egipcios,
when
Central-American.
You need an outsider perspective sometimes on all kinds of things, and I think that's valuable.
I mean, that's almost like how this podcast started. It's one of the ideas behind it was that, you have we have so many scholars
Medios.
on here, particularly, and also like with Mateus. I think scholars almost become
Japoneses,
you exist in your own, I guess, echo
finlandeses.
chamber of like talking to other scholars and kind of become
Finlandeses,
blinded
pero
to
no tienen
seeing
los
things
eslavos, bueno,
the
serían los
same way
franceses,
over
¿no?
and over and over.
Los
and then-
finlandeses.
When you try, no, I'm kind of speaking in a broad sense. When it then comes to like talking to maybe lay people like me, you almost overlook the very basics because you assume a level of understanding that maybe is amongst the scholars, but it's overlooked when it comes to kind
Aquí
of
están.
just the everyday person. And
Finlandeses.
this kind of gives the opportunity of somebody like me to be like, I don't understand this. What's this little thing here? Can you tell me what this is?
That's one of the
Moinen.
great problems of
Väinämöinen.
academia generally.
AFO, ok.
Where,
Väinämöinen es un héroe.
professional academics go to these
Afo,
conferences and you have to
Dios de
often
las
pay
aguas.
to attend the conference.
Sí, sí, Dios
And
de
they are
mar.
not open to the public, and it's a bunch of
El enano de
people
agua.
sitting in a room talking to themselves without any audience. And then they're publishing whatever they've discussed
Ilmatar.
in super expensive journals and super expensive
Adiós
books
a
that
las
most
madres.
normal people
De
cannot
Mikhail.
buy.
Mhm.
And
¿Por qué no tengo los
yeah, when,
esclavos aquí?
what is it all for? I sometimes wonder. And I think if there is a future for academia, we have to open up to everybody and be as
Aquí están,
inclusive
bebé.
as we possibly can.
I'm gonna
And
make a
listen
show about
and
this.
be open to other people from other cultures, from other
Show.
backgrounds, and that's the way to push the research forward. Of course, we won't always agree, but we have to be open to these kinds of conversations. And the worst thing you can do is say, "Oh, I'm not listening to you because you don't have a PhD." So what? Doesn't matter. Someone can just
¿Qué
have
pasó?
a great idea.
¿Qué pasó?
Maybe that idea is
Aquí
worth
están.
considering.
Ya comieron.
Absolutely.
That's my take.
Ya comiste.
Yeah, and I think
Ya comiste.
it's a brilliant
Ya
perspective
comiste.
because if you
Ya
think
comiste.
every other
Ya
week
comiste.
on my academia.edu, I see your name popping up with a new paper that people can read. But that's
Yeah, and I wish all my work was open access and that everyone could read it. But some things I just cannot upload on academia because there's a contract and it forbids me to share this. So it's extremely unfortunate.
Mhm.
Not to mention the fact that most of the articles we write for these journals that then appear behind a 30, 40 euro or pound paywall, we actually don't get paid for it as authors.
Okay, yeah.
So how crazy is that?
Yeah, it is very disappointing because
Están en las uñas de los pies.
we get asked all the time, how can people read more? And there are people out there who just want to read as much as they can, and maybe it is frustrating because it's particularly in the Nordic side of things, like the Nordic mythology, you get a certain group of people who they're happy just being like the entry level, and they'll just think of whatever they see on the TV shows or read on Wikipedia is true, and that's fine. They can exist as they are, but there are so many people who want to do that further reading and they want to get deeper involved, and for whatever reason, maybe they didn't have the opportunity when they were younger to go to university to study this further, whether it's for whatever happened in life, or maybe they didn't get interested in this until later in life, and then you have responsibilities like kids, house, all those things, and you can't then go back to university. So it would be nice for everything just to be as accessible as possible, so people can just dive in and try and learn as much.
Yeah, but that's a bit of an off topic from
It is a little,
our discussions.
I have it all the time because we will move on to the archaeology.
But it's of course very important what we just said. I think we have to try our best to make things as accessible as possible.
It hits me all the time because, like I say, I spend a lot of my weekends just going around different places and trying to look at Viking Age finds, particularly like within Yorkshire. And I keep getting hit with red tape, particularly from
the hardest things I do all day.
Well, a lot of these things end up in churches anyway. But it's fascinating how some of them are so open. The church is open all the time. You can go in, you can look, you can take pictures. They're not bothered. They love it. They're really proud that the history is there. But then you get some that are just like, okay, we have this little bit of history, but it's ours, and you can't come in and take pictures of it, and you can only come and look at it if we say you can come and look at it. But sometimes we're not even going to give you permission to come and look at it, and that's what I find so frustrating. It's like, you don't really own this, you just happen to be your church.
The idea of being a curator is not the idea of ownership. You're curating it, you're not owning something. You're there to make sure it's safe, but you should give people access. Of course, not everyone can access it for various reasons. There are certain objects that are fragile that require certain conditions for them to survive the next couple of 100 years. But essentially, knowledge should be accessible.
It should be. In particular, what I'm referring to, and I'll name it on here, I don't care. So there's a Sigurd cross fragment that exists in the Ripon Cathedral, and this fragment of a cross is just sat in a back room. It's not they know it's of some importance. It's one of 4 Sigur Cross pieces in the UK, and it's just in a back room, sat there. It's not on display, and it's so frustrating because I wrote to them and said, "Can I come and see it? I'd love to make a video about it. It's really cool." And it's like, no, we plan on doing something with it. We understand its importance. We will do something with it at some point. It's just like
in 20 years.
Yeah, so it doesn't take much for you just to put it out and put a little plaque with it or something.
Yeah.
I find things like that very frustrating.
Yeah, that happens.
But anyway, back to
everyone.
back to the archaeological.
There's one other thing I want to show you, and I think that is an extension to what we've been talking about, and with very interesting implications for the wider Viking themed research. So it requires a little bit of an introduction into West Slavic archaeology. But if we have time, we can quickly run through
absolutely
a couple of slides. So in the next couple of minutes, I'll take you on a journey to Poland, and you can see the map of the country as it appears today, with some of the major cemeteries from the Viking Age marked and underlined. And I will show you some of the finds from 2 sites. One of them is called Lutomiersk, and you can see it in the middle of the picture, right in almost in the very center of the country. And the other side is called Ciepłe. It's in the north of Poland, not far away from Gdańsk or Danzig. If you know Gdańsk, it's quite a famous historical city, very popular, especially among Scandinavian tourists. That's not far away from Gdańsk. So our story begins in this place called Lutomiersk in central Poland. And it begins in the 1940s. And that was a very dark time in history and European history, especially in Polish history, the time of the Second World War and of the Nazi occupation. Mm-hmm. And in 1940, the Nazis, who already brought a very strong foothold in Poland, gathered Jews from the ghetto in Łódź, a big city in central Poland, and took them to this little village of Lutomiersk to force them to destroy an existing Jewish cemetery. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to use stone slabs from the cemetery, gravestones essentially, for the construction of a road. That was a common thing that the Nazis did, destroying religious heritage of other cultures and just using it as building material. This is the dark kind of story behind what is about to happen behind an excavation. So what happens in the 1980s? One of the workers